Welcome to another episode of Are You Mad at Me? I'm Vicky Morgan.
And I'm Josh Morgan.
There you go.
I'm here.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, Mops. There's Pups. There's Maybe.
Hey, Mups.
Hey, Mops. Hey, Pups. Say hi.
That's what we
Say
call
hi,
our
Maybe.
dogs. Mups.
Say hi. Say hi. Can you talk? Can you talk? She's the sweetest.
She doesn't know how microphones work. What an idiot.
She's my second favorite. Aren't you, puppy dog? Yeah. Where's
Second
Daisy?
favorite dog, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Okay, go on. Go lay down with Sparky. All right, she can
So
stay.
this is episode 18 of the Are You Mad at Me podcast?
Dozen and a half. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One for every year. Awesome.
One for every
It's
year
been a
that
big
we've
week.
been together. Not every year. There's been more years than that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Josh just said to me before we hit the record button, he was like, what are we going to talk about this week? And I was like, I don't know, comedy, relationships, marketing, self-publishing, beagles. And he was like...
Answering my question perfectly.
And he goes, yeah, but what are we going to talk about? So we've had a fun week, I think.
Yes.
I got all the show notes done, caught up.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, selfpublishednl.com. selfpublishednl.com. You can probably find that in the show notes or in the description of this episode, wherever you're watching it or listening to it. That's our website. That's where we have podcast show notes and information about other stuff too. There's book stuff on there too, right? Links to your books.
I think people have been listening to most of the shows and have kind of followed our journey with Vicky's Discovering Marketing. And so we started off like way back, and I know all this because it was just a couple of days ago that I saw all the show notes. But we started off with a Shopify shop.
Which is exciting. And the whole purpose of that was to do podcast show notes and to have a place that you can sell your books and people can buy them, and we don't need to...
Yeah, it was a great idea.
That was the e-commerce part. Yeah.
Didn't know how to do it. We bought the domain for selfpublishednl.com, and then so Shopify seemed like the best idea, and there was a special going where it was like $1 a month for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you get in there.
$1 a month is great.
I didn't know how to set that up, and there was a big... I looked up, I did the research, and I looked up on Reddit and all the reviews and all that stuff. And so there was this big competition between WordPress and whatever e-commerce they use, Woo.
Yeah.
Commerce.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then, so the big reviews, it seemed like by the people who were actually in the trenches doing the work, it said there's a big learning curve doing a Shopify account, but it's worth it because it's all customizable. So I first tried to ask you to do it, and you were like, that's not graphic design, I don't do that. And I was like, okay. So if you've been listening from the beginning, then you know what happened. We got onto Shopify, figured out how to do it, set up the e-commerce, and so there's all these like little add-ons that you can put on there, like there's like an e-commerce where you can have a shop. Shopify will give you a web page, but so we had our own domain, so we had to figure out how to route when you go to that page to go to our Shopify
that was
account.
We've done that on other sites before, and it was tricky on Shopify.
So there's a few little things like that, and then you get on there, and it's like, okay, so you need this widget to set up your sales, or your basically
E-commerce.
No, like your shop, like your
shop,
your actual shop. And then there's this other widget that tracks your sales and like keeps a track of all the emails of your customers. And there's another widget that uses a bunch of different like you can PayPal and E-Trend or whatever, like the whole list there's a bunch of them, or credit card payments. So all these widgets. Without them, I don't know really if any of it would ever have even worked. So 3 months in, I was like, you know what? By the time we get into it, 3 months should be a good test time, like to figure out if this is the right thing for us.
Right.
And then when the regular price kicked in, I think it was like $49 American a month or something in that range.
Yeah.
But then the e-commerce part was another, I thought $14, but it was like $140 for just the payment system. And then I had this other widget on there that allowed me to upload files from my eBooks and audiobooks. But that was like, if you made sales, they charged you a certain amount of your sales for the storage space or something like that. So there was a whole bunch so coming up around the third month mark, there was this like little warning from Shopify, like, you're about to be charged
a lot,
$160 or something like that starting tomorrow for your shop. And it was like, so my idea was, I can probably sell enough books each month to cover at least the cost and break even.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out how to grow it from there.
Yeah, it seemed like
easy.
it was going to make it happen.
Yeah. So 3 months in, 0 sales. And so I was like, okay, this isn't making any money, and let's start over. So I started from scratch on Blogger, which I had when we first got together.
Blogger's
I started a blog.
school.
Yeah, it hasn't changed at all. But there's lots of room on there. I can't remember what the storage space is on it altogether. But so we started off.
Yeah.
So put all the show notes on there. We had to reroute our Blogger website to self-published NL, so that if you if you put in that name, that website, it'll take you back to whatever we've created. So Shopify didn't work out. It just wasn't for me. And I'm just not enough of an e-commerce whiz.
I feel like if we had a bunch of like novelty keychains or like bumper stickers or stuff that like, you know what I mean, like like if you have a market, like a market table, like a full of stuff that like knickknacks, you know what I mean, that people, I'll spend $1 on these 5. You know what I mean? I feel like there's like a market for. It's like the farmer's market, but on the internet. Yeah. And I think we're doing the podcast, and you have stuff that you've written that we've had on Amazon for a long time. Like you want to sell that stuff too, but I think it feels like it's a different, like if you went and set up a table at the farmer's market, it's like a different market, a different audience. You know what I mean? That's kind of what Shopify felt like.
Well, I think that's the whole idea of marketing and business is you find out what it is you sell might not be the right platform for it.
Yeah,
and so
where to sell it.
And the people, your ideal customers, where are they hanging out and where do they shop? And it's just not. So figuring out what that match is the secret, I guess, to success. And so also knowing when to cut bait, as my fisherman father would say, like know when to cut bait. I mean, he didn't make that up, but that's the thing that they say.
But the selfpublishednl.com website that we've had for months is still available. You can still go to it. It just looks different. It's got all of our show notes on there. It's just on a different host. So, yeah.
Which means nothing to anybody.
Means
no
nothing.
one cares.
Yeah.
So what I have on there right now is I have a page dedicated to... So I'm learning about marketing. Like I'm learning all the things to, like the 20-year-olds are doing when they first get out of university now.
Yeah.
I guess they're 22 by the time they get out of university. But I'm figuring out all the... what a marketing expert would sit down and ask me. And so I'm just doing it from scratch and figuring it out myself. And I'll tell you the benefit of it, and it doesn't seem to be a lot on the surface, but the benefit of it is I can sell anything that anybody else is doing. I'd have no trouble selling jiu-jitsu lessons, no trouble. Like I would have no problem going out into the community and
doing marketing for another person's business.
Saying this is going to benefit your children. They're going to be mentally healthy. They're going to be stronger physically. They're going to be more confident. Their self-esteem is going to soar. I have no trouble saying that about what somebody else is doing with confidence and with a straight face and say absolutely, it's honest. I would buy it myself. Here's why you should buy it. And I know I would walk away with memberships in my pocket. Like I know I would be effective. The problem is selling what I do is a whole different process, and it really you have to I'm finding how to appreciate myself, which is a kind of a weird thing to say. Like I feel uncomfortable even to say it, but
that's part of marketing though, right?
Well, what a marketing person would do would come in and say, let's figure out what your strengths are and what kind of a service you provide to the world, and let's figure out how to communicate that to people who are looking for what you do. So through the process, I found out, because I was a big proponent of Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and they're fantastic. But what I'm hearing, I'm getting feedback from people who want to publish books, and there's 3 stumbling blocks that I found are the biggest ones that kind of trip you up and sometimes talk you out of publishing your book altogether. And those are the ISBN, the International Standard Book Number. The tax interview on Kindle Direct Publishing is a little intimidating because it's a lot of words. And the other thing is the legal contract with KDP. And so when we were first trying to publish our first book, those were the places that I got tripped up as well. And so they are scary. And it would take me weeks to go, oh my God, I can't handle this. I don't know what they're talking about. So I'd walk away and then eventually be like, no, I really want to publish this book, so I need to figure out how to do this. And so KDP is amazing for eBooks, and ACX is audio exchange or something like that. Audio.
That's for audiobooks.
That's for audiobooks. And then the paperbacks, paperbacks and ebooks you do through. Now there's other companies. There's like Ingram Spark and a few others. I didn't have much, I didn't get very far with those because I didn't like the platforms and I didn't really like the interface, and I wasn't comfortable. But I did like KDP. And so for the longest time, that was the only place I sold books.
Right.
And then ordered a whole bunch of author copies, which is the thing you can do when you self-publish. You can order the books at cost, and then you can sell them in person at events and signings and things like that. And you just make a lot more money than you would if somebody ordered it off Amazon. So then I found out that you can also, when the thing with Shopify didn't work out, I found out that you can sell on Etsy. And Etsy is like the crafts place where you get like,
right.
Dishcloths and knickknacks and things like that, and homemade goods. You can put your books on there because it is something that you made from scratch. So you can put and I figured out how to do an ebook and an audiobook. The audiobook's a little bit tricky, but it's all a process. And also the books are on Google Play Books.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So all that to say, I caught up on the show notes. So we're right up to like, I don't have any done for this week because this show hasn't happened yet. But the marketing...
So the website is working. It's got the show notes for the podcast and access or links to all of your stuff that you're selling.
And it's easier to send somebody to the website rather than... because I know if you click on the link to go to Spotify, it'll ask you to sign up. If you go to some of those iHeartRadio, if you're not already a subscriber to iHeartRadio, sometimes it'll put you through a whole bunch of... screens to get you to try to get you to sign up for it and stuff, which is that's how. But YouTube is totally free, and there's another one that's totally free that we're on. Is it Spotify?
Spotify's free. I mean, you still. I think they still want you to sign up to.
Yeah.
Log
so
in.
I would imagine there's ads if you don't have a Spotify.
If you don't have premium, you get ads.
So you'd probably get ads in the middle. I wonder what the ads are. Do you think it's stuff for like embarrassing stuff? Hemorrhoid creams.
I haven't listened to any podcasts since we've got premium, so I haven't listened to any podcasts since we've had that.
Let us know if you're listening on Spotify and you don't have an account on there. Let us know what the ads are. I'd really like to know what they're placing in the middle of our content to see. So anyway, but on YouTube podcast, it is completely free. Now, of course, there probably are ads also on our YouTube broadcast as well.
Yeah, before and after.
Can you imagine?
We're not monetized, so it would only be before and after, I think.
So it'll just be YouTube.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just YouTube stuff.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway.
I don't watch our podcast, so.
We'll find out. But it was interesting to go back and see the journey, doing the show notes and going back through the transcripts. I did get kind of googly-eyed towards the end there, towards the last 6 or 7
There's a lot
episodes.
of work you put in.
And I was summarizing and putting in keywords and all that stuff, and the SEO and this search engine optimization and all those things. And it was like, anyway, I'm still figuring it out as I go. I'm working on a 3rd book, so I'm hoping that I'll figure it out. I hope it'll be a little smoother with the 3rd book.
Yeah.
That's the hope anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's not. So what's on there right now is there's a page dedicated to, so I'm also working on a Pinterest thing because Pinterest apparently is the new Google because people go on to Pinterest. I found out from one of those courses that I downloaded or one of those workshop things.
Tutorials.
That Pinterest is not like the other social media platforms. Pinterest intends for you to leave their site. They don't. So if you go on Facebook and you post a video or something on there or post a link, they'll actually limit.
Because they're trying to get people to stay on the app.
It's like restrictor plate racing. If you know anything about NASCAR, it tempers it keeps it down. It doesn't show up in a lot of news feeds because if someone were to go to that post that you made with a YouTube link on it, you would probably leave.
Yeah.
Facebook. They don't like that. And same thing goes for Instagram. I don't know about TikTok. But on Pinterest, it's meant to be a search engine. So when you go on there and you look up how to plan a birthday party for a 97-year-old elephant. But that's just it. It's meant for exactly that. So you'll get a whole bunch of search things. You'll get a bunch of results. And it'll all be things that you can pin it for later. I don't totally understand it yet, but from what I understand, they're okay with links that take you somewhere else because eventually you'll come back to Pinterest. But you can save stuff on your boards, and I haven't quite. So Pinterest, and I'm using ChatGPT like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
it is so good for generating ideas and for prompting you, and sometimes it'll send you in such the wrong direction that you go, oh no, not like that. So where ChatGPT sent me with my Pinterest plan was, it said you need a landing page. You need somewhere for people to go. So if you're putting a Pinterest pin on there that says, hey, has your mother-in-law ever sent you flowers with your dead baby's name on it? Me too. Go read the book and hear more about that. So the Pinterest
That's
pin...
not one you made. That's just something you came up with just now.
No, that's the real thing. I actually made that poster already. But then lost my nerve to post it. So that's kind of a funny... I'm still working through the whole, self-esteem, confidence thing with this marketing. And I know that has to fall into place before things will fall into place a little bit better.
Yeah.
But
it gets easier.
The landing page would be... You need to have somewhere for them to go to know more about the book and where they can buy it. So, of course, our book is available in person. It's at Kohl's in the Village Mall, Avalon Mall, Indigo Books, and... on Amazon and Google Play Books and Etsy.
Yeah.
So all those things are to lead back to, there has to be a landing page. So on Self Published NL, you will find show notes and a page about how to fail at documentary filmmaking and a page on For the Grace of Joe. And so one of the other things, since I like to ramble on this podcast,
it's a podcast. It's not rambling, it's podcasting.
How about you? I'll remember what I was going to say. How about you tell me a story? How was your weekend, Josh? just to change it up.
We had a great day today. It's been really warm the past couple of days.
It's been really nice.
So like a couple days ago, Henry had a friend come over, and they went and explored the woods around our house. And Henry was telling me all these about seeing all these wrecked cars like from 50 years ago out in the woods, and just junk that people have dumped back there, and just stuff that places they went. So anyway, I thought it'd be fun today. It was nice out. It was really windy, chilly wind, but we went outside, got some exercise and some fresh air, and we went and explored the woods, all four of us.
It was really nice.
It was fun. We got it was still a little wet because of all the melting snow.
So we all wore boots.
We all wore boots, so we all had dry, warm feet. That was nice. But we went and explored the woods around our house, and it was getting we were trying to come home. And we were down in a part of the woods that we weren't familiar with, and I was looking at Google Maps on the phone, and this is how you get back to the end of our road, and then we can walk to our house or whatever. And it was every direction we went, we just kept running into these big
lakes,
creeks, and ponds and swamps.
Yeah, it's not a topographic map. It just says how close you are to the road.
All the snow melt was just kind of settling into these low areas, and it was surrounding our road. It was we can't get back to our road. So anyway, we kind of went up a hill and around a way that we were trying to avoid before because we didn't want to climb this hill. And we came around the corner, and Henry goes, "Whoa!" Mm-hmm. And we were like, "That's good. That's a good sound," because we're out having an adventure. We want to hear excited kids. We got up to where Henry was, and there was a big flat area, and there was a full moose skull and antlers and everything laid in some trees. I don't know if it had been hit by a car because it was close to the highway, or if it was hunted and poached and left there or whatever. But anyway, it was sad but beautiful. 5 years ago when we first moved in here, 5 or 6 years ago, we went walking around the woods and saw a bunch of moose poop out in the woods, and we're like, cool, there's moose here, maybe we'll see a moose. We never saw a moose in 5 years, 6 years, but we saw a moose skull half a mile from our house in the woods today in town. It was we're in St. John's city limits, and we're out in the woods. Nature, yeah. But anyway, we were crime scene investigators. What do we think happened, and how come there's no other bones, and why is it caught in a tree? And so Henry thought the moose had gotten caught in a tree and died there, but where's the rest of the bones? So my guess was, here's my theory. I think someone broke up with their partner, and the partner's prized possession was a moose head on their wall, and this person got so angry that she drove out to the highway, walked tossed
up.
It.
Yep, I think someone tossed a prize moose head, into the woods, and it rotted there, and it was just the skull, and it was a good set of antlers on it too.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been a prized possession. But we've seen other moose remains where there was vertebrae and an ankle bone, the ankle bone would have went with whoever put the tags on it.
Look at where we go get blueberries. There's always wton of fur on the ground.
Yeah,
where they address.
So maybe this has just been there so long, but it was
maybe.
But it was still a part of the back of the skull,
the jawbone. Yeah.
No, way in the back. There was
really?
The top vertebrae was still there and stuff. So we were debating, and so it seemed like someone had maybe struck it on the. This is my second theory, is that someone hit it on the highway and gutted it and took the four quarters.
Yeah. That's a
but
good
there was,
point.
yeah, because that would still have skin on it, and all the bones would be gone, and the only thing left would be the head, which is a little weird. I think that's all. Yeah, that's all you'd have left in the woods. If someone possibly,
I mean, that's the trophy part.
Yeah.
That somebody would want to take home
or
and hang
maybe
up on their shed.
I've never come across it before. Now, maybe where we're seeing the blueberry patch remains, maybe
like
that's
hunters.
poached. Maybe that's why we're seeing so much stuff left in the woods.
Maybe.
Because I don't know.
Well, you can't hunt in town.
We're not hunters.
So it's not like people are
So we don't know what the process is.
shooting, in the city limits.
I didn't see any shells.
That's true.
Usually
yeah.
you'll see shells out in
Yeah.
the woods when there's a hunting area. So that was kind of odd.
But it was cool.
But it was an adventure.
I'll put a picture on social media.
It was pretty cool. And the jawbone was like 5 feet away, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool. But the boys were fascinated by it, and it was like completely decomposed. There was no skin left on it. It was just bone, like like a cool.
They got a lot of big sharp
album
teeth.
cover. What was weird was they had like on the front of the jawbone there was a bunch of teeth on the end, like for nibbling.
Yeah, there was like 5 or
leaves
6
and stuff,
teeth right on the tip.
and then nothing for 6 inches.
Big space.
And then a bunch of jaw teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something for pulling stuff off of the trees, and then something for chewing
And then you
kind of
got to go and just get it back a little bit, and then chaw on the rest of it. So
that was pretty interesting.
But they don't eat meat. What am I saying?
Yeah, they pull like bark and leaves and stuff off trees, right?
So do they have like a big section of their mouth with no teeth in it?
That's what it looked like.
I just assumed all the big teeth in the back were for meat, but they don't. They're carnivore. They're
Herbivores.
Herbivores, yeah. So the nibbling teeth on the front makes sense.
I think they'll
Are
eat,
horses like that?
eat an animal if they get cornered.
I don't think
You
so. No, no, they don't eat meat. But I wonder, are horses have the same set of teeth
That's a good question. I think horses have teeth all the way.
all the way back? Interesting.
We'll have to
Science.
We'll have to do some googling later.
Yeah.
We'll look it up on Pinterest. It's the new Google.
I don't know if you'll find that on Pinterest. So, okay. So here's what I discovered about myself over the last little while. One of the things that I've struggled with marketing is that I have this book about this really sad thing that happened, and I have this other book that's funny. And so I have been struggling with how do I advertise or promote either one without it impacting, because
if somebody comes looking for a serious sad book and they see a funny book, or if somebody comes looking for a funny book and they see a sad book, it's
right.
conflicting.
Well,
That's
it's just
what you mean?
like, I don't know, would you trust a person? So here's what I've been trying to get my head around is when the ChatGPT and, the advice is for a book about loss, this is the advice, and I can't stand it. It says, join loss groups on Facebook and mention your book. And it's so gross.
Yeah.
That is so gross. And I know from those loss groups, there were people that would go on there and say things like, would you like to communicate with your baby who has passed away? And it was like psychic mediums and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, how are these people allowed in the door? Like how they're not getting caught out by the admins was kind of. But so I found that very scummy.
Actually, that might be a good point, because if people are being allowed in there, that means that there's probably people that are okay with it because they've benefited from it somehow. It's made them feel better, or it's given them some kind of a.
It seemed like a really
to,
gross place to be making money.
Yeah,
but it serves a purpose, and maybe it did help. And of course, the grief support group I went to, we all went to see the same psychic. She was supposed to be really great. And turns out the lady didn't know we all knew each other. So when we came back and compared notes, we were all told the same thing, which was really disappointing. But and it was all super unique. That was really so that's why I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth to see someone advertising psychic medium services on a loss group. But the idea of going into a group like that, and I'm in all of them, like I'm in the trisomy group and the soft group and the pregnancy and trying to conceive and infertility, because they all serve a purpose, and there's people in different stages of grief that helped me along the way, and I just haven't left the groups yet. But the idea of going back into them and going, hey, by the way, I wrote a book and you should read it, is like. So I'm trying to figure out who actually would benefit from so somebody that's expecting a baby that had the same thing that ours had, doesn't have a good ending. What about somebody that's going through fertility? So what it kind of comes down to is a couple of different ways I've been looking at it. First of all, I think the book is not really about the losing the baby. I think it's more about relationships. Like the relationships between us and our family, between us and our friends, like surviving a bad experience. Like if somebody fell from the towers at 9/11, or if somebody went to war and came back with PTSD, I think the relationship strains are pretty universal. And so I think the idea that I've been going at it from a baby loss perspective is exactly why it feels so gross and why it's so hard to even tell people about it.
That makes sense.
So the other thing that's been a barrier for me, and I share this in hopes that someone listening might go, oh, I have a company and I like to do these things because it helps me with my PTSD symptoms, and I don't want to market it because it's really all about giving yourself permission to share what you do. And because I would like to be in your house right now to say what you do is a big service to other people and you're helping other people buy what you do, whether it's you're doing acrylic nails or whether you're doing hair or whether you're doing custom socks. It doesn't matter. If something you're doing makes people feel good, it's a service. It's a disservice to not tell people about it.
Yeah.
Because people could be feeling so much better about their lives or whatever by the things that you're able to do for them.
That's true.
So the other problem that I had was, okay, so somebody finds out about my book about loss and they come to my page and they go, wait, she's a comedian? She's a writer? She's a musician? I thought she was just a sad mom. And so that's been a real conflict in my brain because it's like, oh, I guess. So I'm trying to do these things for Pinterest, and this is a learning curve. Like, I'm making the mistakes and going through it. So I'm making these pins and it's like, I'm very sad. Here are 10 tips for if you're about to lose a baby. I haven't posted anything. There's nothing on my Pinterest page. But it's like, okay, but what if somebody goes to my website and they see that I actually have a joke about it? Like, I make a joke about writing self-publishing a book and giving it away because it was about mental health. And like, I wrote a song about the book, the second one not selling. It's called World's Worst Seller. And there's a line in there about, I guess nobody wants to read about baby cremation. And it kills on stage. Like,
great reaction.
There's a lot of shock value, and it's like, it is. And it's like, oh, I guess but I putting those things together and going, the same person who wrote this book also moved on and makes jokes about
that's important,
her family, about her own mental health, about dogs, and about my dad and my mom and my relatives, and like, yeah, this is one course, like this is one path that a person could take after such a loss. And so I'm trying to reconcile in my head that it's okay for both of those books to exist on the same website, let alone in the same person.
Yeah.
And so that's been a real journey for me to get to this point and go, it's the same person. Like, whether I put a bow on it and say, hey, I make sweaters, or hey, I make dishcloths, or hey, I can help you publish your book. It's all me that I'm selling. It's not like they're selling Mulberry Creek music. It's not separate from me. I'm not marketing for someone else's company. It's all me at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's okay for you to have more than one thing happening in your life. And I think that, like, it's important. You told a story a few weeks ago about being in one of the support groups, and a lady came in that was 10 years out and was doing things that you couldn't imagine doing. But that's you now. Like, you're,
Yep.
You're the example of somebody that had this huge traumatic thing that happened and wrote about it, did a lot of work, and you're doing other things with your life.
I think I'm learning the takeaways are changing as I'm getting older. Like, for the first little while, I was like, oh my God, everybody should write their birth story. And I think they should. I think even healthy births, because those are like, giving birth to a person, like there's a person growing in you, which is the weird, most alien thing ever, when there's like an actual human in you kicking you from the inside. Like, that that creeps me out. But giving birth, cesarean or vaginally, is the most traumatic. Like, they gut you on a table. Like, they take your insides and lay them on the table next to you and take a human out of you and then stitch you back up, and you're supposed to get up and walk around that day. Or vaginal birth, oh my God. And then everybody's like, oh, but the baby's so cute. And you don't tell your story to anybody because it's like, oh, who wants to hear that? La, la, la. I did have a friend call me the day Henry was born, and she had never had any babies. She was, I thought, just making conversation. She was like, so how was it? And I went, oh my God, it was horrific. 36 hours. Oh my God, my body's destroyed. Show. 30 minutes after I had been talking about all the details and all the things that happened. And she goes, I'm pregnant. And I went, whoa, sorry.
It was beautiful.
Let's claw it all back. So even somebody that had just found out they were pregnant probably didn't want to hear about all the details. So there's not really a place for birth stories, and unless you can tell yours. So there is a lot of room. I think even just journaling and writing it down has a lot of value.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I'm putting it together in my head that, first of all, it's okay to be me. It's okay to be this person that has all these, like, maybe it's ADHD, I don't know, but there's different parts of me, and they are all in the same place. They're all so
everybody's got all like multiple parts of their personalities. So like to think like I think it's also important for somebody that has recently gone through a loss to know that the way I am right now, the way I'm feeling and what I'm going through right now isn't going to be me for the rest of my life.
But you have to get through those days one step at a time and one breath at a time to get through the other side.
Yeah.
And I think I still remember that part. I remember how hard it was to breathe and to like suicidal thoughts. Oh my God. Suicidal ideation. Yeah. And I'm free. I talk about that freely and comfortably now because everybody at the grief support table said the exact same thing. It was like a universal, I don't know if you consider it, I don't think it's a postpartum thing. I could be wrong about that. I don't know if it's a normal part of postpartum depression, but I know after loss, it's pretty normal for the mom to want to die. Like that's pretty standard. And so if we don't talk about that, then someone who has just lost a baby and is having those thoughts, whether she already has children, is pregnant again, that's normal. And if you don't talk about it, it can turn into something so much worse.
Yeah.
It's so normal, but we don't talk about it. And so birth as its own entity is such a traumatic, amazing, but also the most traumatic thing. The baby pushes, like 10-pound babies push themselves out, like through this. Anyway. See, it's so bizarre to me, like that this happens every single day, and so many of them die, and so many women don't survive, and like we've got modern technology and all this modern science, but man, it's a traumatic experience to go through. And so so early on, I was like, everybody should write their story, but now I'm kind of getting my head around, like, what do you do 10 years later, 12 years later? Like, who are you now? And is it okay to be like, this year I know we had a shitty day on the anniversary of Joe's death. And it was like, come on, this is my kid's, anniversary. And it was like, after 12 years, it's not anybody's business anymore. Like, it's not really something that I didn't post anything on Facebook about it. Yeah, it wasn't like but I did need to take time for myself. And so if I don't say that, someone else is out there 12 years out going, I guess I'm not allowed to talk about it right now. I'm like, yeah, well, you can talk about it. Find a safe space and find safe people to say it to. So, but I'm reconciling, again, I'm going to go back to it. I'm reconciling that these are the same person, that I'm reading like chapters from the book to try to work on the marketing. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this stuff happened to us. And then fast forward to like, oh, you also have this funny book, which again, revisiting the marketing and going, this is not really a book about film. So that guy that said to me, I saw the topic, I'm just not interested in it. If I could go back to that conversation, I would say it's not about filmmaking.
No, you saw the title.
And you judged a book by its cover.
You literally judged a book by its cover.
And that's okay, but I didn't have the right answer for it then because I'm still a work in progress, like we all are. But it's not about filmmaking. It's actually about becoming a musician and how bad I failed at. I didn't fail. I mean, I ran into a broadcaster that didn't like me, but the funny spin on it was how to fail, ha ha ha, because that was the name of the show.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, on the surface, it seems like, oh, she must be, ChatGPT comes back and says things like, oh, this would be great for film students and film instructors. It's not at all. It's not an instructional. I don't say how to set up a camera or how to conduct an interview. It wasn't, and that was the complaint that Belle had when I made the show.
There's no
it wasn't educational.
It
was
stuff.
Like, when did I ever say I was doing an educational show? It was about my own life. And so that
it literally says how to fail on the cover. You shouldn't expect educational out of it. I
got a few good chapters from that experience, from the whole, but it's kind of funny to see if I'm going through these struggles trying to market myself, then I feel like there's some value in that too for people who are, especially people who are entrepreneurs who, like, they might come up with the best thing that has ever been, like the greatest thing that has ever shown up in central Newfoundland or eastern Illinois or Portland, Oregon. Like, you might have the greatest idea, but if you can't tell people about it and you don't know how to deliver it and get where people can find you, it's a disservice. And so there's a real good need for people who can bring that out and say, what is your story? Why would I buy from you as opposed to this other person? And also, let's make money not a dirty word.
Yeah, right.
It's okay to support your family, and it's okay to spend money on a vacation and fill your cup and come back and be a great doctor and come back and be a great massage therapist and all these things, or a painter, or write more books. Like, it's okay to go fill your cup and make money doing what you love. Like, that's kind of, what is the point otherwise?
Right.
Right.
It's all, yeah. It's the focus is doing things that feel good and are fun, spending time with the people you love. Yeah. It
sounds oversimplified when you say it like that. And it's like, but yeah, I don't know, if you're not learning from these big tragic things, and even if you're just doing it, what's that word? When something happens and you're living vicariously.
Yeah.
Even if you're watching these vicarious, if you're, just take some vicarious trauma. See something, turn on the news and see somebody else's terrible story and go, you know what? I don't want to end up like that.
Right. I'm going to live every day to the fullest because that guy almost didn't make it.
Wherever you get your inspiration, I mean, everywhere you look, there's something else inspiring that is trying to let you know life can be fun. Life can be wonderful. There's always going to be garbage, and there's always going to be stuff to stress you out and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's why it's so important to be having fun and doing things that matter to you. Not what your parents think you should be doing, or, you know, you've got to outdo your brother or you outdo your sister or whatever. It's like, no, it's, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? And who you're becoming, who you actually really are. It's just that, you know, the hokey, authentic living and what's the woo-woo, all that woo-woo stuff. Man, there's a reason it's so popular now. It's because people figured out, like, maybe life is really short and I don't know what's after this. So maybe making the best of it while we're here is kind of the way to go.
This really sounds like you're ending the podcast.
Not at all. I'm just gonna move on to crochet.
Sounds like what we talk, how we end the episodes usually. Don't be afraid to do the thing. Make the art, all that stuff.
So
support, encouragement. Here you go.
That Vicky must be done after that. No, I do want to share this because things have been going really, 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 I mean, spectacularly well in my life.
You've been a crocheting fiend the past week. Because
my anxiety has been through the roof. It's like, so anxiety and excitement, there's like a thin layer, like just a
they're very similar
veil between both of them, and they feel kind of the same in your body, and they have the same physical symptoms. And so labeling it and saying, oh, I'm excited, like, okay, great, I'm excited, but I'm still having a nervous breakdown here. I'm still having a panic attack. So crochet in my brain's
out. This panic attack is exciting.
Well, it's because of excitement, and there's a difference between I'm anxious because we got a sick relative, or some horrible news, or I'm backstage and I'm about to go on and do the best show, the biggest show of my life. Like, so figuring out how to deal with a panic attack, it's going to be exactly the same backstage when you're about to go out and do the performance of a lifetime. So figuring out how to breathe and how to meditate and how to ground yourself and how to get a drink, glass of water, glass of cold water, coping stuff. But I don't know what you'd call it if it's excitement. We use different words.
That's true. Yeah, you don't want to tamper excitement. You don't want to... Temper. I think of tamper like tamping down like a nail or something,
Or a waffle stump and poop in the shower.
Not at all.
That's what I see.
So temper tantrum.
Sorry.
No, I know I said that the other day and it was wrong. But anyway, I think you don't want to...
Sorry. You're amazing.
You don't want to mush down your excitement. Because excitement means something good's happening, right?
But it's the same...
but coping, I think, is appropriate.
Feels the same in your body. So I have been crocheting a lot because things are very exciting. And I've got this show coming up on the 3rd of April with Joel Hines and Richie Perez. Joel Thomas Hines, Richie Perez, Vicky Morgan.
That was announced last week.
It's amazing.
So Songwriters Circle?
So terrified.
At the Battery Cafe?
I'm excited beyond words and terrified. Like, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is great because I got a month to prepare for it. But what's happening is I've
got a month to prepare for it.
I've got a month to prepare for it. And like, how come you're not doing this already? And what songs are you going to do? And you're not going to tell that story. And that's not, and then the other day, so of course, whatever I can do for self-care. So I'm in the shower the other day and I go, oh my God, I have a song with Joel's name in it. There was a whole verse of World's Worst Seller that I forgot the last couple of times I played it. And it was like, oh my God, I actually have a line in a song that says, I wrote the second one more like Joel Hines. I'm like, you're not going to sing that in front of him. What are you, an idiot? Like, you can't.
I think that'd be perfect.
I don't know.
It'll
all work. Like, it's not going to change anything. All this anxiety all this excitement leading up to it is not going to change anything. It's going to be what it is. It's already, I mean, if you believe in this stuff, it has already happened. This is just the statue in the marble exists. We're just chipping away the thing. It exists. The book I'm writing, it already exists. And so if I worry about, I need to create it, like, no. I just need to line up and show up.
Happen.
I just need to show up at the thing and sit in the chair and bring my guitar and tune it. It's already a month after that. It's a memory. So if I see it that way, like, how do I feel about this a month after the thing happens? That helps me get my head around. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be great. There are no magic words. There's no magic formula of, like, if I say this and this and this thing will happen. It's not like that. It's the beautiful experience is leading up to it. I get to play it over and over in my head and enjoy the excitement. If I decide to enjoy the excitement, if I turn it around and make it an anxious thing, that's not fun.
That's true.
And this is like one of the best, it hasn't happened yet, is one of the best experiences of my life. Knowing that this is coming up and it's going to be great. I can't wait. But then in my brain, like, I'm laying in bed at night going, oh, don't say anything stupid. Oh, oh my God. Like, I can't imagine sitting next to him. Because we went to that show last month, not to put somebody on a pedestal. I don't mean to do that. But it's like, we were just a couple of weeks ago, watching this thing happen on stage, this energy in this event, and I'm switching places. Like, I thought that was years away.
It's just
it's
a natural.
It's less than 2 weeks. Oh my God.
Next progression, next part of the
I can't
next
wait.
step.
But something that is also opening up for me is this, like, permission. So this is why I love Joel Thomas Hines so much, is because he's so gritty and raw and vulnerable that I feel like he is a person that has given people like me permission to be who you are. Like, Newfoundland be damned. Like, it doesn't all need to be diddly. No offense against the people who did diddly diddlies. But
we like a diddly every now and then.
But it doesn't have to be that. Like, if I'm a Newfoundlander, I'm a Canadian, so my music is Canadian. It's Newfoundland music because I'm a Newfoundlander. It's not necessarily sou'wester rubber boots, but what you're doing counts. And it's okay to just be who you are and tell your stories and be who you are and write what you know. And that's an old cliche, but it matters. In action, to see it in action has been really great. I think I've read everything Joel has ever put out. I've got his albums. I've seen him perform. There was one night years and years and years ago, well before we met. We were at the Arts and Culture Center for an April Fool's show. It was a fundraiser for the LSPU Hall. And, I mean, he went out and did this. He had that crowd, and it was packed, full, sold-out Arts and Culture Center. He had that crowd eaten out of his hand. I mean, they loved every word out of his mouth, and I was just so amazing to be in the wings. I was like stage manager that night. Not performing, not writing, not doing any comedy, not doing music, nothing. I was just so happy to be there with a walkie-talkie, talking to the stars. So to see that happen and to see the ability to make that room just erupt with laughter and connection and, like, I get what he's saying, was just magical. Like, anyway, it was just amazing to be there that night.
So April 3rd, which is a Thursday, at the Battery Cafe, right at the bottom of Signal Hill.
Yep.
7:00 p.m. Joel Hines, Vicky Morgan, Richie Perez, Songwriter Circle.
I'm probably going to
I think it's already sold out.
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't checked that. I'm just against any.
Based on the response from
lots of people,
my friends,
yeah,
they have all bought tickets, and it's so easy. It was so easy to write to an email to people or text or whatever and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing," and the response was like, "Awesome." So that tells me I'm on the right track. I know that. There's no question. Like, the response, like, because I invite people to things all the time, and it's like, I'm not really into comedy, or I'm not really into having fun, or I don't really like joy.
I don't like laughing, smiling.
But Okay, all jokes aside, the response has been amazing, and I don't think there's any tickets left, but it's going to be. But I think by then, because it's still a few days away, I think I'm going to have sweaters crocheted probably for all three of us.
Everybody put on your sweater. We're going to start the songwriter circle.
I do have something related. Let's put on our matching sweaters. I do want to share this because my friend Sean Silver made this for me just after, so maybe 2021, 2022. Yeah. It's been on my fridge ever since. Sean is an absolutely phenomenal Irish step dancer. He's amazing. He is absolutely amazing, stunningly gorgeous, and crochets. And so he made this for me. It's a little butterfly. So if you're listening just to the audio, it's a purple and yellow butterfly, and it's got it's a magnet, like a little bit of magnet on the back, so you can stick it to wherever. And it's got these little antenna that he made out of metal. So Sean got in touch with me because he makes the most amazing crochet items.
Well, that's pretty intricate what you just had there.
I'm like a hat, sweater, dishcloth, kind of person. And I'll try like little patterns and little tiny things. But this elaborate, intricate pattern is stunning.
Like it's got layers. Like there's extra parts of the wings behind the front wings.
And I think that takes like a couple of days to make because he sprays it to hold it in place to let it sit and all. It's beautiful. So I've been talking to Sean, and Sean wants to come on the podcast and do a crochet along with me.
You mentioned that the other day and said we'll have to figure out how to get a third microphone. You guys, I'll just go be on the road that week, and you guys, you can have a guest host. You don't need a second microphone. You can just have a guest host on here and have a crocheting episode.
Huh.
We'll get another camera up above us, or up above you guys.
So here's where my anxious brain just went, oh, that's a good idea. We could have a guest host. Maybe every now and then we could have somebody come in and I could be a guest host and Josh could. And then my anxious brain went to, what am I going to say when Josh comes and says, hey, Vicky, could you step out for this episode? I'd like to have what. That's where my brain went. So, it's a little ramped up. And someone mentioned to me last week, they think I might have, I might be on the spectrum. We all know that, right?
No.
Yeah. So I went, I went and did the online test,
Did you do a test, really?
I did the whole damn thing, and I don't know if it's a trait of.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
If it's neurodivergent, if it's a trait of that, but I got to the end of it, and it said, we'll give you your results for $2.99. And I would have been fine with that if they had told me, kind of like told me the narrative in advance so I could get my head around it. Excuse me. See what I did there?
See.
If I know in advance that it's $2.99, it's $2.99. Who the hell cares? But when I find out at the end of it,
I don't even want to go anymore.
Don't like it. So I'm not a big fan of like. Okay, so I'm going to go on a different tangent here. When I see anything with the phrase sales funnel in it, I'm immediately not interested. So when I'm scrolling through Instagram and somebody says, hey, are you over 45 or attacked already? Do you have kids?
Hateful, first of all.
Hateful words. Do you have kids and you don't know how they would survive if you died? Attacked. Click on this and we'll give you, it's just very, very personalized. Like the marketing works. It reaches the right demographic. So I'll scroll through and I'll go, and it'll say something directly to me. Like, are you trying to start a YouTube channel? Are you worried about marketing your book about, sometimes it gets very specific. So you click on something and it'll say, join me for this free 3-hour training. Sounds great. Click. You get in there and it's like, okay, if you would like to do this 3-hour training, just put your email in here. So you put your email in and then it says, I'm going to send you this thing. It doesn't send right away. But you have to scroll down a little tiny bit and it'll say, if you'd like this extra bonus feature for just $19.99, click here. Like, no. And like the X on that is like itty bitty and the buy it here is massive. Like, don't like that either. So I got one from, I think it was Joe Dispenza the other day was on there. He's got this great book. Like you can, I think I got it for like $3 or something. But his sales funnel will say, would you like some tips on less anxiety in your life? And then in a great big bold button, it'll say, no thanks, I'd rather be miserable. And you scroll a little bit more because you can't just scroll to the bottom. It's like it stops on the screen. And then it'll say, would you like to have 5 tips on how to make more money? No thanks, I like being poor. And it was like, whoa, it was so offensive, like just so insulting, just because you didn't want the thing that they tricked you into on their website. And so that is like, you know what? Scroll back. How do I? So I just go to my
unsubscribe.
I go to my email immediately and unsubscribe. And sometimes I report spam, honestly.
So we've done
I hate it.
We've had a couple like things that we've purchased in the past. Like there was a thing, videos with a Z, a long time ago that you could get motion graphics and you could put them on in your videos or whatever. But that was one of those like pay $80 and you got lifetime access. You get to access videos and download them. There's no watermark. You got a commercial license, whatever. And it was the same thing. It was like, I don't know, like I'd like to see the printout of these web pages because they got to be a mile long. It's like a CVS receipt. Like it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. But it's like, yeah, you can still have the lifetime license. That's fine. But for an extra $30, you can have the lifetime license plus this extra pack that you can download and have on your computer. Or you can also have this. What about have you thought about sound effects? Mm-hmm. You might want some sounds. Oh, that's all. This is just an extra $10, and then it's like holy moly! Like, but this $80 thing is all of a sudden costing me $240.
Yep. I don't know if
sorry, my point was with those that we've purchased in the past. There's been a couple. And like if you can get past, you get down to the bottom and hit no thanks.
If you can make it to the door, you can have it.
It's like a little challenge. Like if you can make it, because I use videos for like I'm doing motion graphics now on my own, but like I use that a bunch in the past.
Videos was fantastic, and there's a couple more. We had like some animation software. Like we have lifetime
doodling, something like that. There was a doodle.
Doodles.
Doodly,
I don't know, but it was pretty great little software before we knew how to, use any of the stuff. It was really great, but it was also one of those pages that takes you through 17 layers of hell to get to what you actually wanted. So, which is really, I'm sure, really
effective.
Don't care for that. I think there is a whole generation of people out here with whether it's a sensory issue or a non-confrontational or opposition defiance disorder, whatever you want to, like whatever the label fits here. I don't like to say no and I don't like confrontation. So when I'm in a store, like when I walk into a clothing store, for example, just leave me alone. I can see the sign. If I have a question, I know where to find you. There's only one other person in the store because I'm in a mall and nobody's shopping. So maybe stop harassing me.
You're wearing a t-shirt that says, ask me if you have any questions.
Right. So when I walk in and someone goes, can I help you find anything today? Like all I hear is, you're too fat to be in here, or you're too old to be in here. Like I just hear judgment. Like it doesn't feel friendly to me. It doesn't feel helpful. It feels like, just let me shop. I'd like to wear a hat that says, no questions. Yeah. No questions.
I have a question.
Sorry, I'm going to put my hat on.
What if you went into when you call the phone company and you end the conversation, like they fixed a problem or they discussed your bill or whatever. And then they're like, have you considered, you need some extra data. Mm. We got this new plan. Or whatever, or have you set up recurring payments with your credit card or whatever? Like they always have a little, like I worked in a call center for a brief period of time. It was miserable. They had these things. They were like, you have to say these things at the end of a call, or at some point in the call, you have to try to upsell this customer, even though they didn't call in to buy anything. You have to offer them something that costs more money every month. Like, would it change anything if you went in, like, knowing that the person that 18-year-old cashier that works there, like, has a requirement as part of their job to go up and say, like, do you know about our sale? Have you texted to join the club and get 10% off this purchase or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, they probably have to say it. They probably have somebody watching them on a camera back in the security office going, is Kirsten saying the thing that she's got to say before, like, you know what I mean? Like, does it change? Does it help, like, to know that it's not an attack? It's they don't want to do it. They don't want to be saying a thing.
I don't know what response you are hoping to get from me right now, but what I'm so uncomfortable even hearing that there's a requirement. Like, someone told this person they have. All that makes me want to do is, like, okay, they're required and there's a camera on me. I just want to go, fuck off, Kristen, I don't want it.
It's Kirsten, first of all.
Are you going to put that in the captions? Like, just real loud, real waving at the cashier, and like, no, thank you. Don't talk to me.
What about?
Sorry, this just blew out your sound.
What about when they come up to you? It's just like, listen, I know you have to say this. If anybody asks, I'll tell them you gave me all the sales pressure. Just leave me alone.
I've never considered saying that, but I'm going to start.
I know you have to say this.
But it never occurred to me that they have to say it.
Oh yeah, they don't. It's not an attack. They don't want to do what they're doing. They're doing it to pay their phone bill every month or pay their rent.
That's why it doesn't feel genuine when they say, "Can I help you?" And they don't want to help.
They don't want to help.
They're probably annoyed that I'm in taking...
Like, it's a customer. You know what's the greatest time ever in retail?
When there's nobody there.
Nobody comes in. I used to work at Target in high school, and when it would rain, nobody came in the store. And we would just ride the carts around the store and turn the stereos on and electronics, and there'd be nobody in. There'd be like 2 people, and be like, why are you here? Go home. It's raining.
You know, we watched an episode of Nateland just the other day. It was the restaurants episode, and they were talking about exactly that the best days were when no one showed up, and you still got paid.
A lot of the wait staff didn't like it because they didn't get any tips, but Nate was like, I loved it because I was just hanging out, chatting with my buddies.
He's still friends with most of the people that he worked with, and Dusty was like, yep, the best days were when the restaurant was empty, and like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I get that.
But yeah, I think that it's 100% not an attack on you. Like, it's not like in... We've seen a couple shows like Pretty Woman and Yellowstone, and like somebody would be like just a racist or like just a really mean person working in retail, and it's like, you know, this person specifically doesn't like you, but like no, it's a requirement. Like they have to say these things, and it sucks, and they hate it too.
So this is what Josh does. Like, I mean, on top of being gorgeous and talented and all that stuff, this is how he keeps me level and sane and happy. I'll come to him with, don't you hate this? Or how about this idea? Or whatever. And then Josh will be like, have you thought about this? And then I go, and there's like choirs of angels going, I have never... And this is how you improve my life, by just simplifying something or saying, have you looked at it this way? And it just makes everything so much better.
Well, I'm glad I can help.
I have never considered, ever, saying to somebody, I know you got to ask. Just leave me. Like, I'd never...
I'm really good.
I'd never put that label on. Look, you seem like a great person. If I wanted garbage, I would buy whatever crap you just tried to sell me. But I didn't come in for crap today. I came in to just browse.
Here's another thing that I've noticed, and this is semi-related to what we're talking about.
Okay.
You used to go to the mall, and the stores in the mall were like a little bit more expensive than like, you know what I mean? Like maybe the department stores on the end of the mall would be like, you have some cheaper stuff, but even there, it's like more expensive. Like people that shopped at the mall when I was growing up, same with you, I think. It was like, these are the people that had nicer clothes. They spent more money. Their families made more money. Their parents had jobs and whatnot. And it's still kind of like that. Like if you go into the mall, it's like there's I don't know the stores, American Eagle, Roots, like those are like expensive places. But then there's like half of the mall that's like
discount.
It's like a disc. It looks nice, and it smells like they just sprayed half a bottle of really fancy perfume or whatever in there. But like these clothes feel like they're gonna fall apart the first time I wash them. Like they're everything's always on sale. It's like the name of the store could be closing down forever. Everything's 75% off sale. But it's like I feel like there's right next to a really expensive store where you get really high quality and durable clothes. There's this place where, you know, the buttons fall off the shirt before you get to the car. I don't know. Maybe I sound like an old man, but
static
it's like, things aren't made the way they used to be.
Well, I call that static stores. It's all polyester. Now,
I feel like there's great big boxes of crappy material shirts just mashed down into them. And they're just throwing them out on the shelves, and they're putting a discount sign. And it's like if I sell 75 of these this week, you know, I'm going to make 100 times profit margin because they're so cheap and crappy. I sound like a total old person right now, but I just noticed that since we've been going to the mall more with the kids, because it's down the road, we don't have a car. It's the place we can walk to.
Winter.
It's winter, yeah. So it's you know.
I think possibly what has shifted for us is we're not going to as many secondhand stores. Because if I went to Valley Village tomorrow or the Salvation Army thrift store and found some Levi's or some Lululemon yoga pants
Limes.
or some of those other store you mentioned, American Eagle stuff, Roots, those sorts of clothing. LL Bean had an outlet store up in Maine. It was amazing because everything was like, I don't know if it had been returned or whatever, but so there's the main store, which was very expensive, but had a lifetime return policy if it didn't work, if it wasn't durable. But then you go over to the outlet store and you'd get like literally 85% off the retail price. And it was across the road.
It was a lot of returns because they would when you ordered stuff through the catalog or online, you could get it embroidered with like initials and stuff.
Like the backpacks.
So you get everybody had backpacks with like their initials in a monogram on it, and at the outlet store, it was all backpacks that were already embroidered. So it was like you could go get this $100 backpack for your next year of high school for like $20. It's just got somebody else's initials on it.
So in high school, people had those backpacks. The rich kids had those backpacks, and I did not. And so going to LL Bean was like, oh, this is how the other. Okay, this is. I'll recognize all the logos.
We're rich.
Patagonia labels and the whatever the little golfy guy. What is him?
Lacoste?
No, Ralph Lauren or whatever. Lacoste.
I was thinking of the alligator.
The golfy guy.
The little alligator.
No, so it's a guy on the horse with the thing over his...
Polo.
Ralph
Lauren.
Yeah.
Same thing,
yeah. So anyway, why are we talking about that? So I think there are still really high quality stores in the mall, but the prices right now are like ridiculous. And I don't find those stores to be quite as, they're not as forthcoming with the help. They usually kind of look at me like this, like, what are you doing in here? Like, I don't know what I'm doing in here.
Those stores are like, if you buy one shirt at full price, which may be $30, you get 12 shirts for free. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what is this? How much are you paying these little tiny underage workers?
So it seems almost like those stores on the boardwalk in Old Orchard Beach or like downtown New York. You know, with
exactly
bodegas.
Yeah.
What do you call them? What's the word?
Yeah, like
bodega's like an outside store with everything like laid out. But what are those stores where like they're all the like touristy stuff?
Yeah. Like you go to New York and Chinatown, and you get like they have like 10 T-shirts for $3 or something.
Yeah. And so there's stores like that in the mall now. I don't know how they're paying rent.
So cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
think we should. You made a good point. I think we should go back to the thrift stores and. We'll take our shopping cart up to Value Village and...
Well, I think the type of funky kids that our kids are, I think they're going to have funky friends, and maybe they probably would enjoy Value Village a lot more than the mall anyway.
I mean...
So maybe we should try that.
As far as clothes shopping goes, our kids...
But it's like going up to the toy section and playing with all the old electronics and trying stuff on.
We do have a picture from like maybe 5 years ago of Henry... took a puzzle down off the shelf at Value Village and just started putting the puzzle together. He's just like sitting in the floor in the aisle putting a puzzle together. Like great. Out in it was filthy, the floor of a department store or whatever, but it was like
pretty sweet.
That's on our Facebook somewhere.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going to go back to marketing for a minute.
Okay. Oh, I had an idea.
Well, please, by all means, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll remember. See, this is one of those like attention span things where I interrupt people a lot because I'm afraid I'll forget, and I will definitely forget what I was going to say. So, not that it's that important. It's just I might forget. But anyway, I won't forget. I'll remember. What was your thing?
You really gonna remember?
I got it. It's locked in.
I feel bad now.
No, I got it. It's about. Okay. It's a back to you thing. I have a question for you. So you go ahead with your thing.
So.
Sorry, you guys had to see that.
I haven't had much luck this week with marketing.
Right.
Because we've been doing a lot of shorts on YouTube, like cutting little clips out of the podcast and putting them up on YouTube as shorts. And I did one this week that was like 2 minutes and 55 seconds because 3 minutes is the limit. And it literally got 0 views. Mm-hmm. It was like 2 days later, it's got and we've been consistently getting, 500 views on our shorts, which is not a ton for some channels, but a lot for us.
Good for us.
And 0 views. So your idea was to not like take it off, make it re-upload it as a regular video instead of a short. And then I also put another. So I did that, and I also put a short on from a few episodes back where I stole a kill from you on Fortnite. So, and then a couple days of that, and still like 3 views combined out of those. Like I don't know what I did.
So what I just heard was that the 2 ideas that I said to do flopped. So obviously, I'm not a marketing expert, And I don't know the YouTube algorithm, but a couple things you have been doing that have worked really, really well is not posting links on Facebook. I did see something about that in one of those, YouTube
that's
tutorials.
the thing. Like both of those videos that I posted, I don't know if I put the Fortnite one on Facebook and Instagram, but I put the longer one on Facebook and Instagram, and they're getting a couple hundred views.
They're doing fine on there.
But on YouTube, it just dropped.
So if you post stuff, from what I understand, if you post things on Facebook and it's a link to YouTube, it actually messes up the YouTube algorithm because the traffic looks like it's coming from Facebook. And you might get just a nosy Parker that wants to check out what you're doing, but only stays on there for a couple of seconds and goes to a different, doesn't stay on the page or doesn't stay on the video. And so that actually negatively affects your algorithm and it won't boost naturally.
Yeah.
What I'm understanding about YouTube is that the YouTube itself, the platform itself, promotes from within. So it goes by your episode, like the name of your file, the hashtags that you use, and the description. That's what it puts in for the searches. So if somebody goes in and searches a 97-year-old elephant birthday party, like your stuff will show up for you got to put that in the hashtags this week. Just because. So
like a couple weeks ago, there was one that I posted that I made a joke about an old farmer wearing overalls with no shirt on, and I made a joke about side boob, and I put that as the title. Like I put that clip on YouTube, and I put it as the title, something about side boob. Mm-hmm. And like that was kind of similar. Like I got no views at all. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, obviously this got censored because of the title. So I deleted it, re-uploaded it with a different title, and same, up to 500 views. Like it was perfect. So I figured when this happened this week, it was like, did I put something in that's getting censored? Like there wasn't really anything that was...
Yeah.
Aside from the link to being a longer video, and then the one from Fortnite was... Anyway, it was just frustrating that I didn't know how to recoup those numbers.
So I think keeping track of looking at your analytics and saying... And it might not be obvious yet. It might be something that you have something in common with a few that haven't been popular and others that are really popular. Like, so you can focus on what went wrong, or you can look at the things that are getting 500 views and what do they have in common, and keep doing that thing. And you try it out. It's all trial and error, and to beat yourself up over a couple of things that didn't get views. I mean, I've had that on TikTok, and I don't know the algorithm either, but some things organically get 1,500 views, and then other stuff 0. And it's like, this was gold. Why isn't this?
You put the same video on 2 TikTok channels,
which is a problem.
Which is funny because but you have one account that has over 1,000 followers, mm-hmm. and one account that has like 50 followers. You put the same video on both accounts, and the one with 1,000 followers gets 15 views, and the one with 50 followers gets 1,000 views. Like.
So I think there's somebody out there in the world now going, I'm exactly the person they need. I should help them with their marketing. And like, great, if you can do it for free, or if you'll do it for baked goods, let us know. We're trying to, this is called bootstrapping. We're trying to do everything as low budget as possible, or DIY as much as possible. And
this is exactly the thing that people don't want to hear. I want the thing that you do for free. Like I
don't want anyone to help us. That's fine. Like what I'm saying is, before you send us an email, a cold call saying, "Hey, I found you're on YouTube and I love your content." Like, no, you don't. You're a bot. You send this to everybody.
I saw a thing on.
So I should clarify. I don't mean actual marketers. I mean the people who send us cold emails.
Yeah. Somebody put something on Facebook on a podcast group I'm in the other day, and it said, "I'm looking for a free logo design app." Like the one I've tried, it just keeps giving me stuff I don't like. What's a good one? And I was like, had a post ready to go. Like, I'm a graphic designer, but it was like his third word was free.
Yeah.
Like he's not looking to pay,
and that's okay.
Which is whatever.
But we're also not like a brick and mortar store that. This is not a business idea we're doing right now. This is not. I would like to have a company selling widgets for this much money and shipping it to this country. It's like we're just goofing around doing a podcast right now. We're learning the ropes. We're trying to figure out how to get on our feet.
That's true.
So I'm not really... If someone came to me and said, I want to publish a book. I have this great idea, but I don't have any money to pay you. I would say, then you don't have a book. Because if you don't know how to do it yourself and you need somebody to do those things... then that's not a business idea.
You either need to learn how to do it yourself, or
if you come up with an idea like I'm going to change the wiper blades on people's cars, but I need you to advertise it for free for me because I don't have any money yet. Like, then you don't have a business. You have an idea, but until you have the resources, and I'm going to put in this little interjection here. The resources are available to you. Just be creative about it.
Yeah.
Like the opportunities are there. You can be anything you want. You can have anything you want. You can be, do, or have anything you want. The resources are there. And if you go, well, I don't have any money and nobody will help me. Okay, then you're probably going to stay stuck in that. But lots of people start off bootstrapping, starting from scratch. Like, it takes longer. It would be nice if you
you're saying I should focus on the thing that I want, which is a bigger following on YouTube, and learn how to figure it out myself.
Why do you want a bigger following on YouTube?
Because we're awesome.
Seriously, why? These are the questions that need to be asked. Like, when you get to the core of why you want that thing, it might not be more followers, because subscribers is not necessarily what you want. You want more people to hear you because X, Y, Z, or you want. So this is the question I was going to ask you. If I were to, so a couple of weeks ago, Josh did this amazing. Someone got in touch and said, I need a video montage done for a funeral. Funeral home doesn't do it. I need somebody, someone just died, and I need 300, 400 pictures put on this video montage to play on the screen during the wake. Like, that to me seems like I've been doing that since, oh my God, iMovie came out. Or not iMovie, what was the original one?
Windows Movie Maker.
Windows Movie Maker. I mean, I've been making videos for people as birthday gifts since I was a teenager. Like, how do you not know how to do that? Like, but Vicky, back it off a little bit. Not everybody knows how to do that. Not everybody's had the same group of interests. So someone comes to Josh and says, I need this by tomorrow. So you've got 24 hours to do it. You've got to know how to download the pictures and use the software to do it and make it certain lengths, make the pictures different sizes so they'll show up on the screen properly, have them crossfade into each other. It is a skill set. And so it was like, they were thrilled. They loved it. Josh was so, I could hear what was going on, like, because the lady had to come to our house. And I could hear Josh saying, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, he was so comforting and so understanding and patient with this person who just didn't know how to do X, Y, Z, to get the files to him so he could do what he needed to do. And the service that Josh provides is not just technical, putting something into software and send them on their merry way with a video. Or it's the follow through with, they don't know how to use a thumb drive, or they don't know how to get the files off their phone, or they don't know how to scan pictures in a photo album. Like, this, what Josh provides is so much more than making a video for somebody. And so that personal part of it is like, how do you put that on a brochure, or how do you put that on a business card or on a website? So my question to you is, what a marketing person would say to you is, what do you want to do? What are you good at? How do you deliver it? Who do you think would be best served by this thing? And then also at the core of it, the bigger airy-fairy, woo-woo, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference because it guides the marketing. And so if you just want to make money off a bunch of people who are in mourning, become an undertaker. Or, be a hearse driver, or be the guy that, literally, like, they charge so much money to drive an urn from one place to another place. And like, because I see from another thing that I do on another side of my life, I see these funeral invoices. And it's like, they charge that much for a spray of flowers on a casket, or they charge that much for some brochures to hand out at the funeral. Like,
yeah,
the amount of money that they charge at a funeral home. And so, like, what did you get out of that experience? Why was that good for you? What did you enjoy about that experience?
Are you really asking me?
I'm really asking
you. I mean, it was nice to have a customer that wanted me to do something that I enjoy doing, that I'm good at, and want to pay me for it.
Yeah.
To do something to help somebody that needed it, like you said, the next day, that they couldn't do themselves, and to be, able to do that for them. And I mean, it felt good. The whole project felt good because it was.
You felt like you were doing something good.
Yeah, and I was getting paid for it.
But
and
you
they
could
were
do
happy
something.
to pay.
You could do something similar for somebody getting married. So sometimes asking those types of questions too is like, okay, you could also make money doing weddings, probably a lot more. Why don't you want to do weddings?
I feel like we've like we said last week, we've only done one, and it was a good experience. But I feel like stereotypically weddings are like kind of a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's like the most joyous day of your life.
Yeah.
And
like
it was for us.
High stakes for some people.
It was for us, but I think the reason it was so good for us is because we had the core.
We had fun.
We had the core values down pat. We knew why we were getting married. We knew what we wanted out of it, and it was great that some friends and family could attend, but it wasn't why we were. That wasn't the point. It was we actually wanted to be married, and so the ceremony, like the actual ceremony, was really important to us, which I think gets really, really lost in your $10,000 and $20,000 and $30,000 weddings. It becomes about the, pats of butter that are shaped like daisies that are flown in on dry ice. And that's a real thing. Like, it becomes about the bridesmaid didn't do this thing or the whatever didn't happen. And it becomes about the details and you're missing the point. Like, I think that's why people elope. So back to a marketing perspective. Why do you want to do it? And then how do you convey that? Because I saw this process and I saw you struggling with how do I present this thing that I want to be able, like I want to do this and I can do this. How do I let people know that I can do it without feeling like an ambulance chaser, without feeling like you're capitalizing on people's grief? And it's like,
but there's obviously a need for it because it's come into our lives a few times.
The funeral home doesn't do it. It's a quick turnaround time. It's what else? What are the benefits of you as opposed to, I mean,
so we've talked about this thing before too, where
why should you do it?
Why should I do it instead of somebody else? You mean?
Why should you do it? Why should someone call Josh Morgan? I have an answer for it, but what can you tell me? Why should somebody call you if they need a funeral video made? Or a memorial video.
So one thing that I'm hearing from that is, why should they call you instead of having their nephew do it that's in high school or somebody in their family? And I would say to that because I'm not in the family. I'm outside. I'm separate from it. I'm not concerned about getting to the funeral, and I'm not sad that somebody that I know and love died. I can just focus on the task at hand, which is to create a thing for you. So I know that's a benefit.
You're removed.
I'm removed from the family and professional.
And efficient.
Sure. Right? Yeah. Thank you for saying all these nice things about me.
But it's true. You can get it done. You can get it done well, and you're removed from it. So you can be kind and compassionate. So you're not. So on the other hand, if it was someone you were close to, you would be the last person I would ask to do it. Because it's unkind to expect.
That's true, yeah.
Like, can you play at your own wedding? What? Can you do your own wife's funeral video? No. Like, let people mourn. And that's why providing a service for somebody who, don't ask the nephew because he lost somebody too. Don't ask the whatever, or the kid that's doing a class in high school because it's too much. Like, they are just learning a thing. So it's not really.
So that's another thing too. Like,
we've had
the lady
those
that came over a couple weeks ago had a lot on her plate because this was like, it was sort of unexpected. So there was a lot of stuff that had to be done in a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. So it was like, here's one thing I can take off your plate.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about who's going to do it, how it's going to get done. Just know that it's going to be done before the thing, and I'll give it to you.
And being the person who will say, I haven't heard from that person today. Maybe I should follow up because there's 1,000 details. Having somebody to say, just a little nudge. I know you got a lot going on. Here's a little nudge that I need to get this done for you by this time tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you need to come over by this certain time so I can get all that stuff done for you. And I can do this thing for you. And it's not like something people are going to change their mind about. At the funeral home, there's either a bulletin board with pictures pinned to it.
Magnets, yeah.
Which I have a line about in Jimmy Glenn. I don't know if people understand what I'm talking about in that, but it was like, I don't want to see the pictures standing at your feet. And it's the bulletin board at a funeral home where the pictures are up there that everybody has collected over the years. They all bring them to the funeral, and you're at the foot of the casket of the person that you love, and you're looking at the pictures of them. And so, the hope is that I don't end up at Glenn's funeral one of these days, missing all these years of all these. So if you haven't heard Jimmy Glenn, that's what that line is about, if anybody ever had any questions. But this is going right, like the marketing idea to me is, I love marketing. I love doing it for other people. Like, let's bring out why you care about this thing. Why are you doing this? Why do you care about kids' self-esteem? Or why do you care about people's mental health, or about people's funeral, that their funeral is a smooth event for them so that they can actually participate in the transition from to non-physical, and you don't have to be distracted by, is my car going to work on the way home? Those things that you should be able to tune out and be present for these events, because they're huge: births, deaths, marriages, all of it. You should really be able to see what's going on and be around and be there for it, instead of worrying about those little details. So it's actually a service, like the service that you provide, and putting that into words is like, that is the beautiful thing. And it's like, I don't have something off the top of my head right now of how you could easily be where people need to know about what you can do, because if you put a brochure in a funeral home, it's too late. By the time you get to a funeral home, you've already made all the arrangements. Yeah. So, like, do you put brochures? Is it a brochure thing? Is it a postcard thing? Do you get in touch with clergy? Do you get in touch with people who do ceremonies? Do you send it to? Do you put brochures at palliative care? Like, where are people? Where are people planning funerals? This is like, these are things that, where are the people who need you going to be, and how can you put your information under their hands, not in a pushy way, but in a like service. There
when you need it. Yeah.
In a service providing way of, here's what you need and here's how I can do it. So my question for publishing clients is, how do I let people know that publishing your book, so let's say somebody has a small company, or they're just really good at something like, what I'm going to say, beekeeping. But like, let's say that somebody does acrylic nails, or they're just really, really good at doing makeup for people who are going through cancer treatments, because there's this whole I don't remember who it was. Somebody was like, when you look your best, you feel your best, and they had this wig program where they would put wigs and do makeup for people with. So I'm going to steer away from that, because that feels a little yucky to me. What's another example?
Well, we got some friends that have a barbecue place, and they're really good at barbecue, cooking, smoking, all different kinds of meat, stuff that's not happening.
Okay. So that is a person he's a Red Seal chef. He has tons of experience, and he does private catering. And his food is stunning. Like, I don't know if you can use that word for food, but so he's someone who knows the smoking process. He knows what needs to go in and how long things take, and how to reheat it afterwards, and all these food safety regulations. So if somebody like that comes to me and says, I want to advertise my company, or I want to whatever. Like, okay, go home and write a book. I wouldn't say this to everybody, and this is just the example you're using. But if you know a topic inside and out, and it's your expertise, and it's something that you do all the time, and you want to write a book about it, let's just imagine that you want to branch out one of these days, and maybe you don't want to cook for the rest of your life. Maybe at some point you'd like to go teach classes in cooking, or you want to teach, like, you want to go to seminars and conferences where people are learning how to do, like, for the hospitality industry, and we want to have a more efficient line service or whatever. If you write a book about what you're good at, there's a much better chance that you will become known as a knowledgeable person in that field.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like a very big business card. So as an entrepreneur, when you put your knowledge into a book, and there's this thing called mini books that only need to be like 30 or 40 or 50 pages. If you have a book that's available, it doesn't need to be, you don't have to be a writer, you don't need to be a children's author, you don't need to commit to it for the rest of your life. But as an entrepreneur, writing a book about what you're good at and putting your expertise into it is not only, it solidifies in your own head, this is what I provide, this is what I'm good at, this is what I know. So let's just say you publish it, and let's just say you get some author copies, and you get like 30 copies or 50 copies or whatever. And you go somewhere and you give somebody a copy of the book. Like, it's your calling card. It's the next, it's for hobbyists and gardeners and people who want to grow organic food, and they want to live more naturally, or they want to cut out gluten, or they have a kid that has a tree nut allergy, and they had to come up with all these recipes to not have, the kid's allergic to flour or eggs or milk or whatever, and you had to come up with all these recipes to get by as a parent of this, with this particular detail. If you write a book about your experience, not only does it feel good to you, it's therapeutic for yourself to realize, like, oh, I didn't realize I had all this knowledge. But there's also people out there going through the same thing who are just finding out their kid can't eat gluten, or their kid can't eat eggs, or, they're not allowed to have popsicles for the rest of their life because they can't be around wood. I don't know. As a small business person, writing a book about your knowledge becomes a thing that solidifies your expertise. It gives you an opportunity to kind of branch out of what you do. So it's not just I'm looking for clients to pre-plan their funeral. It's, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's, if you know how to do a thing, if you've just done a Tony Robbins training and you figured out how to firm, I don't know, turnips that stick, when you bite into a turnip and it tastes like there's a stick in it.
The rootiness of it.
It's not the rooty. It's like every now and then in the middle of a turnip, it's like you bite into it and it's like, did I just bite a piece of wood? It feels like my grandmother used to say there was sticks in the turnips. If you figure out how to make turnips that don't have sticks in them, I'd buy that book. I'd want to know. I mean, I'm not going to grow them, but I would certainly want the person who grows my turnips to know about that. So I would give Lester's Farm a copy of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is that making any sense at all, or am I just full?
No, I think that's really good. I think that's good, and I think
so. What I'm able to do, this is like, as far as a publishing coach, bringing out the story and saying, why should you tell this story? Why should you be the one to tell it? And why is it important? And why should you tell it now? Those are the questions. And so, like, coaching someone through the process. And most of the time, there's like an introductory session of like, here's what the book's about. Okay, off you go write your book, make sure it's in this format so it's easier to work with down the road. When you get to then there's a stage where I come in where it's like, okay, your book is written. I'm not going to edit it. You're the expert on the topic, because I don't rewrite people's books. But I'm the person that will line it all up, get the formatting, get the page numbers on the bottom, get the ISBN, get the profile set up, and then you're off to the races. You're publishing the book. You order as many author copies as you want.
Yeah.
It becomes this, why me? Why would somebody hire me to do that? It's not like, do you know there are thousands of people out on this planet that can do exactly that for you? Why me? Well, because I'm a person that has been very, very sad, has had a lot of mental health struggles, has become a comedian and a musician and a podcaster. And so I've learned a little bit about self-doubt and self-esteem and figuring out, like, answering all the maggots in your head that tell you you're not worth talking about and your story doesn't matter. Like, that's what I bring to the table. I can see by your face, or I can see by whatever, you're starting to doubt that your story's worth telling. Here's why it's worth telling. Tell me why you think you should, you know what I mean? Like, it's helping people find their own value and their own voice. That's what I bring to the table. I know that. As a self-defense instructor, watching people crumble the first time they threw a punch and they start crying, and it's like, on the surface, like, oh, that's really weird. Why are they because they're triggered.
Yeah. Because
they're triggered by this experience where they're finally able to punch something for the first time in their life. They're able to make contact and punch back. It's triggering. And so someone that can sit down, I'm only 5 feet tall, but I know I'm a very effective self-defense instructor because I can sit down with that person, or like sometimes they want to just go to the bathroom and take a few minutes to cool off, splash some water on their face. But when they come back, like, I know what I'm bringing to the table is my own experiences, and I know there's some value in that, and I'm going to watch this back after when I need to hear it. But
I'll make a clip for you.
But having these experiences of, like, I think I've been where you are. Is this possibly what's going on right now? And how can I help? And do you just want me to leave you alone and let you punch the bag some more? Like, It's really, that's why would someone ask me to publish their book? I mean, listen to the podcast. If you like me by the end of the podcast and you want to write a book, get in touch. If you can't stand the sound of my voice, or you hate the books I've written, or you heard the songs and you just, oh my God, this woman. Okay, this is awesome. I'm putting it all out there. You get to decide if you like me or not. If you do, get in touch.
That's right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is really, it's putting it out there. Like, this is aside from self-publishing a book, podcasting goes hand in hand with book marketing. Oh my God. Going back through the show notes, I've talked about For the Grace of Joe and How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking, I think every single episode.
Wow.
And people have listened to every episode Sometimes it's all the same people that have let us know that they listen to them. Are they tired of hearing about it yet? And they go, it's okay. She's just trying to sell her book. And they're okay with it. It's like a commercial. And then they go, what's going on with Vicky? Oh, she got attacked in a bar. Well, that's interesting. Or, oh, she got fired from, like, all those stories, like, we're keeping up on each other's lives. But it's also marketing in the podcast. We just spent, and this is clips now, we'll have clips now for next week.
That's
where
right, yeah.
You can put on your J Morgan video website that says, this is why you should hire Josh to do your memorial videos. Now we have a clip from a podcast. I'm talking about why you should hire me as a self-publishing coach. Now there's a clip. Like, all these things, it's all marketing. It's all marketing. If I wasn't doing marketing, I would not have microphones turned on.
That's true.
Everything you put out there, social media posts, Twitter posts, Instagram, it's all saying, love me, see me, hear me, please. Otherwise, you just sit in your basement. You wouldn't turn a camera on. I just talk to you, and which I love talking. We talk all the time, but we turn the camera on every now and then. There's a purpose to this. It seems like she just loves the sound of her own voice. I hope I don't seem that stupid.
No,
or
I
that
think,
two-dimensional.
I think it's good marketing.
I think there are people who listen to this podcast and they might never ever tell me, but I think there are people who are finding this for the right, like the law of attraction is they're asking for something and we are providing something, and there's a match. And when it's not a match, people stop listening. They never find us in the first place. I really believe that people on a certain frequency, when we match, that's why I'm in your ear holes right now, because there's a match. And maybe it's just to see how much I can get on your nerves this week. Or it's, she kind of has a point. And so many years ago, there was a nurse who came in the night we delivered Joe.
Yep.
And she had just gotten married. It was Valentine's Day. It was her first year as a married woman on Valentine's Day. And they called her at home and said, we have a stillbirth, a pending stillbirth. She came in and obviously she got paid because it's her job. But she told me that night that she volunteers for these jobs. And I said, why would you do that? And she said, because I can. Because just like you said, this is not happening to me, and I have the ability to be here. And she said, I think it's my duty to do it if I can. And what's spiritually messed up for me about that is she was pregnant. She didn't know that night, but she had a baby 9 months later.
Wow.
I've watched that child, we were friends on Facebook. I've watched that child grow, and I can't help but think there's a little piece of Joe in that woman's child, because it's shaped so talking to that woman who knew she could do this thing, she wasn't cold. She was actually wonderful and warm, but she wasn't attached. She didn't know me or my baby.
Yeah.
So she was able to provide nursing services that night when I needed it,
right?
Because she was able to. And she said if this was someone that I was friends with, she said I wouldn't be able to come near it. But it was a thing she was able to do.
Yeah.
And so if I'm able to do this for people, then that's the greatest honor of my life.
Yeah.
So if you know that about yourself, and so through the marketing process, just a little heads up, going through this marketing process and learning about how to market and how to promote and do the things that I'm doing is a process of learning to like myself and learning to respect what I have to offer and like myself as a person. That's where it all starts. And if that's all you get from starting a business, whether it's a knitting business or an acrylic nail business, if you learn to like yourself a little bit more by selling nails, because that's just, that's how you are letting love in. And maybe it's in the form of money, but you've decided somewhere along the way, I don't want people to come up and be nice to me. But if I was able to do their nails, I would let them be nice to me. It's just an exchange of, this is how you let love in.
Thank you. You're worth it. I love you.
And this is how I've decided that I'm willing to let love out. Yeah. If I can help somebody find their voice or learn to punch a bag properly so that they don't break their thumb, or so that they, get free from a bad, domestic violence situation or whatever. If I can help people do that, I haven't taught self-defense in a couple of years. So I don't mean, please don't get in touch about self-defense classes. I don't have any of the gear. It's been a couple of years. But those things are all incorporated into helping people find their voice. And I just remember in that class when people would come in, I remember one of the instructors said to me, when Vicky first walked in this room, she wouldn't make eye contact with me. And now that she's an instructor, I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley. Richard was amazing. And so knowing that, like, even I was only 5 feet tall, and I remember saying, I couldn't be an instructor. I mean, all these women are so much taller than me, and you got to hold the pads up at a certain level, and how would I be effective? And I remember the instructors sitting me down who were so influential when I needed that in my life so bad. I remember them saying, your strength and what you have to offer is because you're small and because you've had to fight your way out from under so many grown men. Like, your story is what makes it's where your value is. It's why me and not somebody else? Maybe you don't want to talk to somebody who's a survivor, who's a lost mom, who's someone with PTSD, or someone who has a master's in adult education. Maybe you don't want to be around somebody who has any of those traits. Maybe you don't want someone who's white and married to a man and has healthy children. You know what I mean? Like, those details about me, those are the exact things that would draw people to me. And if it's something that repels people, they're not my people. I hope some of that made sense.
No, I get it.
I'm feeling super this is a really nice place.
This is telling people who you are. That's marketing.
It's putting it out there. And in the most authentic, organic, I mean, there is no more, like, there's no extra layer. There's no, like, what Vicky's really like behind the scenes. I mean, am I different?
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
And there's never a point in my life where I'm more authentic than when I'm sitting next to Josh with my beagle snoring next to me, and we're just comfortable on our couch in our sweatpants.
Sparky snores every episode, I think.
I know. So if you like this, I'm happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
And if you're this far into the podcast and you're just grinding your teeth going, this woman, oh my God. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Make better choices.
There's
with
other
your
good
time,
podcasts out there.
But make better choices. Like, why would you put yourself through that misery if you don't like it? Go to Nate Land. I promise you are going to love Nate Land. He's so friggin' funny. I'm seriously digging that show. And I got to get my plug in every single week. Go watch Nate Land podcast or listen to Nate Land podcast. Oh, if you're listening to this and you would like to help us, leave a comment.
Yes.
Leave a comment on whatever spot, if it's Spotify, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Leave a comment. It helps us. It's a free thing you can do. It takes a couple of seconds. Leave a comment and say, just listening. You guys are amazing. Or whatever. You can use your own. You can use your own words, but engage. That's the best thing you can do for us. Click a like on there. And you know what? If you're out there and somebody in your life is saying, I'd like to write a book, or I'd like to start a podcast, or someone died and I don't have anybody to do video, drop our name in. It's certainly appreciated. That's how it works.
Did you remember the thing you were going to say? Or was that it?
That was it. It was to ask you about your own marketing, because I remember...
I knew you'd remember.
I saw you struggling with that because I know it was a good experience for you to do that memorial video. It was like you were glowing because you got to provide not only your skills, but your compassion and your removedness from that event, that thing that was happening in somebody else's life. You were able to be at your best because you weren't personally affected by it.
Yeah.
You were able to be compassionate and empathetic and patient. Like, did I say patient already?
Yes.
Like, and you do have that. I know you haven't taught in a long time, but your ability to teach somebody something and not make them feel stupid is astounding. Like, you don't talk down to people. You like, and I even said, how does somebody not know how to do that? I wouldn't say that to anybody in person,
of course,
but it does kind of shock me sometimes. Like, wait, how doesn't everybody know what we know? Or, and it's like, no, not necessarily.
Yeah,
we know because we've tried it just to do DIY, just to do our own radio shows and stuff and make TV shows or whatever. But it is realizing that at this age, Vicky, there's probably a chance that you know how to do things. And which are the things that you'd like to do for other people? Because there's some stuff some of the stuff I don't want to resume doing, so I don't put it on my resume. I don't want to do office work. I don't want to answer phones for anybody. I mean, unless it's for the hockey team. Well, I think I'd work for the hockey team. I would be a personal assistant to 3 or 4 people. I think I could like pick up laundry and dry cleaning and detail their car and stuff for the right people.
For the right person, sure.
But it's a very short list. But generally speaking, the stuff that I like doing, I don't like editing. I don't like video editing, and I don't like book editing. But I love formatting. I like sitting alone with a manuscript and line by line, making sure the period is right here and making sure the paragraph starts on the right page and the page numbers line up. And it is the most frustrating and tedious thing, but I get the most pleasure because it's I can concentrate and be in that moment. And so I love doing that work. And I love being able to pass somebody a copy of their book.
Yeah.
It's amazing to launch parties and plan a launch party for somebody, and doing up a guest list for the launch party, and like who would you love to know about this book, and there's just having a conversation about who do you want to know you've written a book. You don't necessarily need to invite them, but is there anyone you want me to like nudge and say, hey, do you know they wrote a book? Yeah. Those conversations, because it is an accomplishment. It's a really big deal. And so seeing that joy happen is a really fun thing. And then because we've done it, and I'm working on a third one because I love it, and the boys love the launch parties. They love getting the popcorn machine out, and the coffee, the big urn we bought and invested in, and it's just sitting in the basement right now. So I'm ready for another launch party. Anytime you are. Yeah. So that the new book,
it's coming up.
We did a little photo shoot today. I know last week or a couple of weeks ago I talked about maybe doing a whole campaign, a marketing campaign where I wear coveralls.
This was sort of the opposite of that.
Sort of the opposite. This was more like the cover nothings. So keep an eye out for that, because I think that's going to be pretty fun. With my graphic designer husband, who's going to strategically place logos. But oh my God, if you were driving down a certain part of the road today, what a vision you saw.
What a vision.
What an eyeful you got. But what a laugh we had. Oh my God. Yeah. But it was, it's all fun. If your life isn't fun, write me an email. Tell me what would make your life fun. Just say it out loud one time. Write me an email. Leave me a voicemail. Leave a comment.
Comment on
whatever
the podcast.
You want to do. Say it out loud. What would make your life fun? Because what a difference it is when you meet somebody, and instead of saying, what do you do for work? If you say, what do you do that brings you joy? Or if there were no consequences, what would you love to be doing? And people, their body changes, their voice changes. There's a whole different energy around them when you actually get somebody to talk about what they wish they were doing with their life. And I like to be that person that says that asks that question and gets them thinking about how they could be happier.
I think that's probably enough for tonight.
That's all we got.
I think we're done.
Say goodbye, babes.
Bye, babes.
So give us an idea if you would like to do a stitch along with Sean Silver. And I mean, I'm going to put a still picture on the podcast in case this is not showing up well I was showing it to the computer.
See this?
So I'll put a picture on it. I'll put a picture on it so you can see this a little closer. And we are going to put up some clips and pay attention to our analytics and see what works and what's getting through to people.
We'll put a picture of the moose bones we found today.
And you know why? Do you know why we're trying to make our podcast more available and accessible to people?
Why?
Well, for one thing, if we weren't doing any marketing,
a delight.
Sure. If we weren't doing any marketing, whoever's listening to this right now wouldn't have found it.
That's true.
And if other people in your life were also listening to it, it could be something that you could talk about. It'd be something you'd have in common. And instead of like turning on, there's an election coming up. We just called today, which is insanity. Yay. So that's going to be wild for the next little while. So when you're turning on your news or whatever, this is an alternative. This is something fun you can talk about. And hey, I've been thinking about starting a company, or hey, I might write a book, or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Or I might start a podcast. Like, these are all things that are possible.
Yeah. And
so marketing works. I think it is the most beautiful thing. It's a kind of a dirty word in some ways, just like money. But it's like the magic that connects people with things that they want in their lives. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And the idea of like marketing companies, and you're about to start a work term in a couple of weeks with my favorite marketing company. That idea of going to an organization and saying, here's what I love to do. Here's how I deliver it. Here's the people that I think, would be best served. And to come up with a strategy to put it in language that will reach those people. Like, that's where the magic happens. That's what a marketing company, a marketing exec, or a marketing account manager, whatever they're called, someone to sit down and come up with an idea, because it all starts like, that's been around forever. Like, the Santa Claus Coke,
right.
Santa Claus didn't have red and white, an outfit. That was a marketing campaign by Coca-Cola. Like, all these things, like Harvey's oil warms the dog's ears. The dog is sitting on the vent and his ears are all floppy, and it's like warm your ears, gentle heat. Like, that's a marketing concept. That is not, Harvey's did not go to a marketing company and say, can you get a picture of a dog with his ears on the, that's not what they did. They went and said, I wasn't there, but I can
They
surmise
probably didn't say those things.
they probably
specific
went to a
words,
marketing company and said, we have competition. People can get electric heat. We want people to use furnace oil or use whatever these mini splits or whatever. I don't know that I just have electric heat, but Harvey's did not go to a company and say, this is what we want out there. They went and said, here's an issue we're having. We want to increase either our public perception or how our customers look at us. We want to be seen as affordable. We want to be seen as an alternative to whatever. Like, they went with their list of problems, and the marketing people said, here's how we're going to solve all of these by this campaign. And it's as simple as a picture of a dog or a guy coming home from work and he puts his keys in the bowl and his little girl runs out and hugs him. Like, that's a marketing concept, and that to me is just so creative and artistic. And beautiful. And it becomes like, you look at a show like Mad Men, and I think they really represented, yes, there's craziness because creative people are a little woohoo, they're a little loopy.
They need some space,
but they need space because what they're doing is they're taking this concept like teachers also do, or instructors of jiu-jitsu or whatever it is that, like, when you make a thing more digestible to a person and they're able to do it because of how you've worded it or how you've presented it, that you've made their lives better.
100%.
Right? Like, it's...
The dogs
are getting the zoomies. All right. I think that's a wrap for this week, Josh. It's a pleasure.
You did great.
As always. So did you.
You are a delight.
Oh, so you're a delight. So this is Are You Mad at Me? I'm Vicki Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
And it has been a pleasure. And so if you have something in mind, if you would like to do a stitch along, maybe we can do like an offshoot, or it can be an episode. But we're thinking about having Sean Silver on here to crochet along with me. And maybe we can make something. I don't know if we can make something this elaborate, but the guy's a genius.
Maybe a hat in an episode.
Well, your grandmother showed me how to crochet. We were sitting out in Mulberry Creek. We were sitting on an old porch swing, literally in the country, and she showed me how to do the first few stitches. I didn't know how to crochet, and she had the patience to sit with me and show me how to crochet. And here we are now with this mental health saving thing that I'm able to do all these years later. That she didn't.
Coping device.
Did she know at the time that she was giving me something that would help me cope with stress and anxiety and excitement? I don't know. Some things just happen naturally, and she didn't think about stuff like that. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But here's this gift that keeps on giving. So anyway, you have lots of gifts, and you have lots to give. And if you need somebody to tell you that, send me a message, and I'll tell you every day if you need to hear it. That goes for you, too.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And we'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.